Welcome. This is a live all about Bloom and the chance for you to get your questions answered. Now, I'm hoping, last time I went live, there was an issue and people couldn't ask questions, which is so annoying. I have fiddled around with my settings. I've checked my settings and they all say that everyone can ask questions. So please, if you want to ask a question, do so in the comment box below. If you're struggling to do that, please let me know so I can raise a ticket with Substack, I guess, to get it fixed, because all my settings say that everybody can ask questions. So I would hate for anybody to feel like they are not welcome to ask questions. They absolutely are. So yeah, if you are wanting to and it's telling you have to upgrade, which is what happened last time, then please message me and I will get onto Substack. Message me separately, obviously, not on the live because that's not possible. Anyway, let's get on with it, shall we? It's bloody freezing here. Look at all my wisteria buds. Ooh, they're going to be loads of lovely purple flowers. I'm so excited. Hello, Annie. Hi, Grace. Hi, Judski and Sarah Strauss. Lovely to see you here, ladies. Right, let's dive in, shall we? I've got a few submitted questions that I'm going to start with. And then, like I said, if you've got questions, please pop them into the comments and I will endeavour to do my best to answer them. The first one is from the lovely Claire Venus. What size garden do we need to have? Actually, doesn't matter. You could be gardening on a balcony if you wanted to. This is about, it's not about having a big garden. It's not about having a fancy garden. It's about having a space that supports you, no matter the size of that space. So I'd say my garden is like an average, probably UK size garden. But you really don't, you can, it doesn't matter. You don't need a big garden at all. It's not about like creating some kind of like Chelsea show garden-esque thing. This is about yes, improving your garden and getting it looking gorgeous, but also about using it as a space that's going to support you as well. So you can do that with a collection of pots. And actually, if you've seen the lineup, if you will, for spring, that we're going to be focusing on in spring. One of them is pots with pizzazz. So I'm going to be giving a real focus on creating really beautiful pots that last and look good all year round. Because for me, my pots are what get me through winter when it's really dark and miserable and the rest of the garden is having a nap. It's my pots that kind of keep my spirits high. So we're going to be diving into all of that in Bloom. The second question Claire had then was like, what tools do we need? So I'm going to be telling you exactly what tools you need during the process of Bloom. But in reality, it's nothing fancy. Like, you've probably already got a trowel that you're using or like a garden fork. Yes, there are like other tools that can save you time and make things easier, but ultimately it's not about having to go out and buy everything. This is really about using probably the tools that you already have to do the activities. So there really isn't going to be a whole long list of things that you're going to need to buy in order to join. If you don't have a trowel or a hand fork, yes, there is going to be some raised weeding involved. So you absolutely will need to have something that you can dig with. But it doesn't have to be anything fancy. I'm not about kind of, selling you loads of stuff. That's not my deal at all. So I hope that has answered those questions, Claire. Now there's no questions coming in, which is making me think that my settings are still being a pain. If you can, even if you don't want to ask a question, I'd love it if you could just like put a comment in the box below, just to say like hi or anything, because it's making me think that maybe people can't are not allowed to for whatever reason, because the Substack settings are just like going wild. So if you are able to just type something in there, that would be really useful. So I know that people, hi Jane. Yes, Sarah's managed to type, but Sarah, I think you're a paid subscriber, aren't you? So I think that is probably why you can type. Anyway, I'm not going to focus on that anymore. This is actually a really good one, Sarah, as you're here. What is the difference between the seed paid and Bloom? Okay, so the seed is like obviously free, and in that I share occasional I share like a monthly post with like a roundup of what's going on in the seed. I share a few little things that I'm doing in my garden that month. And then throughout the month, I do live videos focusing on, there's sometimes interview videos with other people that I think would be useful for you. And then there's other videos that are, top 5 plants for, or things I've got coming up, like top 5 plants for anxiety. So they're very kind of like, information based. The seed paid then is when you're in paid, you actually get access to horticultural therapy activities that you can do throughout the year. But these are very much focused on kind of like maintaining your garden. So there's nothing about like garden transformation in there. It's very much about like prune these plants this week, or do some weeding this week, or water your pots. So they are activities to get you out in your garden, but they're more kind of focused on like garden maintenance, if you will. Hi, Alison. Lovely to see you here. Please feel free to pop any questions you've got about Bloom in the comments. I'm just discussing the difference between the seed paid and then Bloom. So the seed paid is very much about, you get loads of activities. You also get to come along to our community garden along sessions, which are twice a month. They are a really great time to be able to kind of like focus in on getting some time in your garden, getting some of the activities like ticked off your list. If there's things that you really need to do in the garden, they're really great for an accountability thing. So you get part of those and the maintenance activities as part of the seed paid. That is £100 for the year. If that is appealing to you, please come and join us. We would love for you to come and join us. That is open all year round. Bloom, however, is very much focused on garden transformation. So if you're looking out in your garden, you're thinking, God, I really need to make some changes out here. I really want to put a new border in, or I really want to grow some veggies and I need to create like a veg patch. Or perhaps you're thinking, I really need to put a nice seating area so I can go out and have a nice like cuppa first thing in the morning, enjoy my garden. So they are the kind of things we're going to be focusing on in Bloom. It's very much like looking at the layout of your garden currently, where things are, if that's working for your garden and the plants that you want to grow. And if it's not, it's about moving those things around. And we're going to be doing that in small daily activities in Bloom. So fundamentally then, but you also get access to the garden along sessions as part of Bloom as well. And you also get access to me to be able to ask me any questions you want about the process as you're changing your garden and get any advice. I'm also going to be taking you through loads of different well-being elements that you can include in your garden in there. And also loads of different, we're going to be looking at different plant types, like what plants you want to grow. We're going to be looking at colours and the impact of like colour on your mood. And depending on what kind of vibe you're hoping to bring to your garden, we're going to be looking at that. So Bloom, like I said, is very much more a focus on the transformation. So if you're not happy with how your garden looks currently and you want to change it, Bloom is for you. If you are happy with how your garden looks and you just want some activities to get you out in the garden regularly and you don't want to have to think about what you should be doing in the garden each month, I've done the thinking for you and it's there as a paid member of the seed. And like I said, that is open all year round. Bloom, however, is only going to be opening 4 times a year. And it closes this Friday at midnight, the 3rd of April. And currently is on half price at £250 for the entire year of support from me. So that is crazy price. It will be £500. It will be £500 when it next opens because it's so much support from me and it's garden changing basically and life changing because it's going to get you out there regularly enjoying and connecting with nature so that you can feel better. Another question then, if this says, I'm already a paid member of the seed, will Substack charge me in full if I upgrade? If you have literally paid like yesterday £100 to join the seed for the year, and then you decided, right, I'm going to upgrade, Substack will charge you the difference. So it will charge you £150. So instead of the £250, because you've already paid £100. If, however, you pay monthly for the seed, which at the minute is £10 a month, and you literally paid yesterday your £10 a month, then it would charge you £240. So it charges you the difference when you upgrade, basically. And if you're kind of like already, maybe you paid a couple of weeks ago your monthly fee, it would probably charge you like £245, for example. So it kind of works it out. I don't know how the tech works, but that's how it would work. So if you are already a paid member of the seed, then you wouldn't be paying the full 250. You'd be paying the difference between what you've already paid, if that makes sense. Right. I have a few more questions here that I'm just going to read off of my computer. So this is a really pertinent one because I've got a big community here all over the world. So this one is, I don't live in the UK, and so we have a different climate and native plants to you. I feel really overwhelmed with the research to figure out what is best to grow in my area. How do you address this in Bloom where your members live in different parts of the world? Okay. So the way I'm going to be teaching you in Bloom to choose your plants is very much linked to the conditions your garden has to offer. So we're going to be looking at the conditions that your garden has to offer in week 3. Once we've worked out how we're actually going to find the 20 minutes in our day, that's going to be what we're looking at in week 1, because at the minute, I imagine half of the appeal of you coming to work with me is that I'm telling you, you can change your garden in 20 minutes a day. It's absolutely possible. I've done it myself. I continue to do it myself. And I'm going to be doing this right alongside you because I've got an area in my garden that I want to transform as well. So in week 1, that's what we're going to be looking at, is like, where the hell in your very busy life do you find this 20 minutes a day? And then in week 3, we're going to be looking at what conditions your garden has to offer. So this will track wherever you are in the world because it's going to be bespoke to you. For me, I'm all about teaching you to work with your garden specifically, work with the climate in your area and listening to your intuition rather than giving you a list of plants from a list, so a list of plants to choose from. That's not my bag at all. I'm also going to be, some of our exercises, I'm going to be encouraging you to go out in your local area and use your eyes and engage with nature in your local area and see what's growing in your local area. So it's not like I'm going to be going like, right, here's a list of like 5 plants you can choose from wherever you are in the world. That's not my deal at all. My deal is like helping you decide what colours you're interested in and what plant types, and then we can look at whether those plants will work in your climate and with the conditions that you've got available. Also, you have, as a member of Bloom, you have the ability to ask me questions in the comments of all of the activities. So if you're struggling with something, for example, when it's the week where we're looking at like choosing our plants, you can ask for my advice in the comments, and I will help you to decide if you're stuck with what to go with. So you really do have access to my gardening and horticultural brain for an entire year. This is a really good one now. If anyone else has got any questions, please pop them in the chat. But I would imagine that as no one's writing anything, the settings are still wonky and you're unable to. But please do DM them to me, or just head to my profile and send me a message, and I will absolutely come back to you with those answers. This question is a really good one, and many of you may have been thinking of this. If you give activities for every day of the year and we miss some days or even weeks, how do we catch up without becoming overwhelmed? This is going to happen, right? Life happens. For me, for example, I don't, on a Friday, I have my youngest. She hasn't started school yet, so she's at home with me. Generally, I don't get to do any gardening on that Friday. And of course, like if I'm away for the weekend or like I go on holiday, I'm not in the garden. So this is why we have the community garden along sessions, or one of the reasons. One of them is because it's so lovely to get together in community, share our wins, share our struggles of, how we're trying to fit this gardening thing in, and these like rebellious acts of self-care and taking time for ourselves in the garden into our busy lives. So it's so nice to come together with other women who are also trying to do that. But it's also really good or really good way to catch up on some of the activities that you think you would like still to do. So like I said, I use them for this exact purpose because my life gets in the way at times as well. I think that's normal. And actually, I don't want to sit here and say, you must be in the garden every day. Like, this is not school. I trust that you are discerning adults and you have the ability to be like, yes, I want to do that activity, or no, that activity actually, for me, for example, like sowing from seed is not a priority for me right now. So maybe I'll wait, because we're going to repeatedly across the year do lots of seed sowing weeks, because there's different seeds that you can sow in each season. So you might think, right, in spring, I'm actually not going to focus on growing from seed right now. I'm going to leave that and learn about that later in the year. So that is absolutely completely your prerogative. And I trust that you can make those decisions for yourself as an adult and, a woman who knows her own mind. What have I got here? Oh yeah, one thing I did want to say was that every Sunday, so basically these activities are going to be uploaded onto Substack on the website and on the app, and they are going to be in there. I'm not going to be emailing you every day with these activities, because quite honestly, I think that could get very overwhelming in your inbox. So it will be a case of you going onto the app or going onto the website to check in and see what the activity is for the day. What I am going to be doing though is every Sunday, I'm going to be sending you an overview email with the theme of the week and the activities that we're going to be focusing on for that week. So it might be, and actually this is a really nice little check-in on a Sunday night anyway, to think about, right, what am I doing this week? And I'm going to be talking to you more about this in week 1. But looking at those activities and thinking like, yeah, okay, I definitely want to do those 3, but actually those ones aren't quite relevant for me now. So when am I going to fit those 3 activities into my diary this week? And this is going to be something I'm going to be focusing more on, like I said, in week 1, because, yes, creating that consistent habit, but also, working with your diary is really, really useful, whether that's a digital diary or a paper one as well. What have I got here? Okay, this is another really great one. Are your pre-recorded online masterclasses available to us if we join Bloom? Yes, they are, but in a different format. So I found that when people bought those masterclasses, they kind of struggled to even find the 90 minutes to watch them, because they are 90 minutes long, because they're very practical. They're about getting you taking action. So what I've done, and this is kind of like the whole reason why Bloom exists, is I have broken those masterclasses and those gardening and horticultural therapy skills down into shorter videos. And these are going to form the basis of the daily activities. You won't always get a video. Sometimes you will. I'll only be putting videos in if I feel like you need to see me doing the activity in order to understand what I'm talking about. But I have broken them down into shorter videos, and you will be shown just what you need to complete that daily activity. So, for example, instead of an entire Seed Sowing for Success masterclass that's going to take you you're going to have to find 90 minutes in your diary. I don't know about you, but finding 90 minutes, challenging for me. And so you buy the thing and then you don't ever end up watching it. And then you just feel guilty about the fact that you didn't watch the thing. I've broken it down. So you'll get instead a 10-minute video of how to sow seeds in pots. So just one really tiny aspect of that entire masterclass, so that you can watch the video and then give it a go yourself. I'm all about getting you to actually take action. Like, I think so many of us get stuck in that like paralysis state of where we're like, oh, I really want to do this thing, but actually I don't know what I'm doing. So I'll consume all the content. And then you don't actually end up taking action. So this new format prevents you from doing that. It gives you a very little snippet of just exactly what you need to know, so that you can then go straight out in the garden and take action. And it gives you that kind of lovely, by doing that, it gives you that lovely dopamine hit of actually taking the action. And rather than being stuck in that like consuming and learning mode. So, you watch the video, you go in the garden, you get the lovely dopamine hit, you're feeling really proud of yourself. You're far more likely to come back the next day and watch the next, or, do the next activity, because your brain starts to chase that dopamine and those feel good feelings, and it wants to do it again. So that is the entire reason really why I have created Bloom, because the old ways just weren't really working for my clients, and they don't really work for me. I've always gardened in these little snippets, because for me it's not about clearing an entire weekend to get in the garden. A, because it just doesn't happen. And B, I find it far better for my mental health and well-being if I can top up my stores like every day, or at least every other day, or, like I said, I'm not going to keep going on about the everyday thing, because sometimes I don't get the chance to go in the garden. Let me see if I've got any more questions here. This is a really good one. I've wasted so much money on my garden. I don't want to waste any more. Can you really help me? So I get it. I have definitely in the past invested in things like courses and programs, and thought, Right, yeah, I'm going to do this. It's great. I pay the money. I get the initial buzz from paying the money, and then I do nothing about it. Okay, we have all been there. So, I completely understand why you might be worried about that. So that is the first thing to talk about when it comes to wasting money. And the last thing I want for you to do is to invest in this and then actually not take the action. That's why I'm there to and the community is there to kind of hold you accountable. I don't know about you, but I find I'm far better at actually getting something done when I know someone's going to be like, how are you getting on? Did you do the thing? So that is why Bloom, another reason why Bloom is set up in this way. Another thing is really the top two reasons that people end up wasting money on plants. If maybe you've tried to do your garden on your own and you feel like the plants are just dying and you're not really getting anywhere, is the reason, two of the reasons is, one of them is because either they don't choose the right plants for their space. And we're going to be focusing on exactly that in week 3. Because clients always say to me, "Oh, I'm a plant killer. I kill everything that I plant." But the key really is, once we figure out what plants are actually suited to the space that you've got, then they very quickly change from plant killer to plant invigorator, as I like to call it. And actually, this doesn't take like loads of extra ongoing input. When you can match the right plants to the space that you have available for them, Mother Nature will take care of a lot of their care. So you won't be finding yourself having to tend to them all the time, which, let's face it, is what we're short on, right? Time. So the other reason why people end up or feel like they waste money on plants is because they're not choosing plants that are designed for longevity. So, for example, they're choosing annual plants to make their baskets look pretty and have that impact of colour now. And then they're sad when those plants die over the winter and don't come back. It's really key to make sure that if you are growing a garden for a long time that you want to enjoy for years to come, that you're canny about the types of plants that you choose. We're going to be covering this. I can't remember what week it is. I want to say maybe week 5 or 6, but we're going to be covering the different types of plants that are available and their average life expectancy. So that means that you will be able to then choose ones that will be supporting you, looking glorious in the garden for years to come, rather than you thinking like, God, I've gone and spunked like 80 quid in the garden centre. And then at the end of the season, you're like, oh, well, I feel really sad because everything's been got by the frost and it's not going to come back again. There's going to be no more of that. We're going to be being really clever about the plants that we choose to plant, so that they last for a really long time. Okay, this is a great one. How will Bloom help me feel less overwhelmed by my garden? So I'll be really honest with you. When I moved into this garden, it looked completely different. It was very overgrown. The people had clearly sort of tried to do a few things with it and then just got bored and left it. And it was all so overgrown and really like stressful. And I initially like ignored it for a bit, and then I was like, crap, things started growing. Basically, it was this time of year, and I was like, everything's growing. It's just getting even more out of control. I need to take some action. And I've always been quite good at this in that I'm very good at like breaking things down into smaller steps so I can take action. Like I'm a real action taker. Like that's just comes really naturally to me. So I'm very good at seeing a big picture and breaking it down into small steps. So that's exactly what I did. I broke that huge, overwhelming project down into small bite-sized steps. And the good news for you is, if you're thinking to yourself, "Oh, that sounds like quite a lot of work," I've already done it for you. That's the whole point of Bloom, right? Is that we're going to be taking little tiny steps every day, working towards, by the full year that we've worked together, not only are you going to be feeling really confident in your abilities to transform your garden. I mean, you'll have already transformed it. It will be looking way better than it is currently. And you will have, yes, taken those tiny daily steps to get there every day, but you'll also be, feeling so much better in yourself because you're going to have that regular time outside connecting with nature. So, this time next year, you're going to be sitting out in your new seating area if you don't already have one. And you're going to have loads of beautiful sensory plants around you that really kind of help you increase your energy levels or feel calmer, whatever it is that you want from your garden. And you'll just be there sun streaming in, listening to the birds, sipping a morning coffee, and you'll be like, oh my goodness me, I am so glad that I listened to Kendall and joined Bloom and took small daily actions with her every day. And those small daily actions, like I said, they reduce how overwhelmed you're feeling because you're taking action. The reason so many of us feel so overwhelmed is because we sit and we overthink the thing and we don't do anything about it. And then the overwhelm just builds and builds and builds. So I'll be really honest, Bloom really is about like ripping that band-aid off and taking those small daily steps every time. And like I said, I'm going to be there. I've done all the thinking for you. So you don't need to give any brain space to that. You just need to turn up every day, do the small action, and you'll naturally be taking steps towards that kind of, beautiful sanctuary garden that's going to really support and hold you, and you'll be out there sat sipping your coffee in the morning sun with all those lovely plants around you before you know it. Okay. How much time will I need to find? I'm really busy. I get it. Sorry, this is all wonky and it's annoying. I feel you. I am also quite busy, very busy. I run my own business. I also do some work for another company. I have two small children. And in the UK, we basically have between 9 in the morning and 3 to work because that's the school hours. So, yes, I also do not have a lot of time. But I know that I'm a much better mother, partner, all round general human being. I'm less snappy with like people that I come across in my life and my children and my husband because I take that time for myself every day. Now, I know that as women, we haven't been conditioned, or we actually have been conditioned to believe that time for ourselves is selfish. There's a really brilliant book by Susie Redding called, what is it called? How to Be Selfish. I mean, what a great title. I really highly recommend that you read it if you like reading. I imagine you do because you're here on Substack. And it is really, it actually has practical steps in there to help you to overcome this kind of thing of like, oh, feels selfish to take time for myself. So yeah, it's a really nice book to read alongside this process. Each activity is 20 minutes maximum. Okay. And if I'm really honest with you, you need to be taking at least 20 minutes for yourself every day. You deserve that. It's up to you if you prefer to save up that 20 minutes for every day and do it in a block on the weekend. That's absolutely something that you can do. But certainly in the UK with the lighter evenings now, it's definitely possible to get your 20 minutes in once you're back from work. Yeah, through the winter, like I said, I've got, you'll have the weekends. And obviously, if you work from home, then you can get out in the middle of the day as well. So yeah, like I said, in week 1, I'm going to be helping you to find those 20 minutes in your diary every day. I think as women, we carry a lot. We do a lot of stuff for other people that perhaps they could do themselves. Certainly, I have been guilty of that with my children. I am a bit of a one for like, oh, well, it's just quicker if I do it myself. It's like, yeah, it is. But actually, why don't you just get them to do it? And then you can like just have like a minute of, and also, they need to learn to do those skills for them. Something I always say to my clients in a previous course that I've run is a really great example is like the PTA cake sale, right? So often you get these emails and they're like, oh, will you make us a cake for the cake sale? You spend ages making the freaking cake. Of course, the kids promise that they're going to help you decorate it and then they disappear handily to go and do something else. And you end up doing the whole bloody thing. And you're like, oh, I don't even really like baking. Now I've had to bake this whole bloody cake and decorate it. What would be better would be to go to the shop, buy some cake. The PTA can still sell it and make money from it and go in the garden for 20 minutes. Do you know what I mean? So it is about letting go of like the shoulds that are put on us and that we put on ourselves. And we're going to be having loads of conversations about this throughout the whole of Bloom because I think that this work can't sit aside from that. I think a lot of things that being in the garden every day gives you a lot of time to think and process things and start to kind of unpick some of that conditioning. And I'm going to be there kind of maybe holding a mirror up to some of the things that come up for you. Probably almost certainly holding a mirror up to myself, because I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, I'm perfect. Like, I still have to battle with this stuff every day. In fact, literally this morning, I've been doing something that's really like set my nervous system like, meh. And I was like, I really need to go in the garden to calm down. And I was like, no, I can't. I haven't got time. But I am going to go in the garden, even just for like 10, 20 minutes this afternoon, just to reset myself after I've eaten some lunch in a minute before I go back to work. Because I know that if I have that 10, 20 minutes, my nervous system is going to be calmer. I'm going to be far more productive at work. I'm going to get so much more done. I'm going to be so much more creative in what I'm trying to do. And actually, it's going to take me less time because I'm not going to be like amped up and on edge. So yeah, these are all the kind of things that we're going to be doing in Bloom. What does this one here say? I don't know anything about gardening. Is this for me? Bloom is designed for complete gardening beginners. Okay. So whether you're brand new to gardening, this is like a new thing for you, or perhaps you've tried to bring the vision that you've got in your head for your garden to life before, and plants keep on dying on you, or you just don't take action. That's a really, really common one. Many people come to me and they're like, I really like gardening. I've been trying gardening and I've been trying, but actually I just kind of need you to break it down for me because I'm just getting stuck in overwhelm and consuming information and not actually taking the steps forward. So Bloom really is that kind of answer to your gardening prayers. I'm going to be taking you through the exact process I use with my one-to-one clients to turn their gardens from spaces that they'd be kind of embarrassed for anyone to see. Perhaps there's like kids' toys everywhere, loads of mud, loads of weeds, just looks really sad. And then turning them into a space that actually their friends are always wanting to come around and visit, which is how my garden is now, because it's got such a lovely energy. People say when they come into my garden, they're like, oh my God, it's like so wild and wonderful. Like, I'm not sitting here and saying my garden is like weed free and perfect. It really isn't, but it feels like me. And that is what I'm going to be helping you to do in Bloom, is to create a garden that feels like you, because you don't want to create a garden from like a generic planting plan that some other person's come up with that feels like someone else, or that like a million people around the world have got because they've all copied the same planting plan, or they've gone on ChatGPT and asked it for a planting plan. What you want to create is a garden that actually can support your nervous system. And the only way that you can do that is by creating it yourself and tapping into your beliefs, the things that you love, the plants that you love, and I'm going to be helping to tease out of you exactly what it is that you want your garden to do for you. And that is kind of where my magic is, really. I'm not yes, I'm giving you horticultural therapy activities to reset your nervous system, but it really is kind of that blending of the horticultural therapy and the garden design elements to help you know exactly what you want your garden to look like, and then helping you to create it. And just for context, really, like I said, I'm going to be taking you through this exact process that I use with my one-to-one clients. To work with me one-to-one for a year is £5,000. And at the minute, you can get into Bloom for £250. So a crazy, crazy bargain. And like I said, you get access to me in the comments of all the activities. So if you're stuck with it, you just literally need to type in there, I'm stuck, and I will come back and help you. So this is really exciting. I'm really excited. I cannot wait to get started. We get started this Saturday, the 4th of April. The next time that Bloom is going to be open is going to be end of May, start of June. So in advance of the summer season. So yeah, if you want to get cracking right now, then do come and jump into Bloom. Like I said, if you've really wanted to ask a question, and I'm so annoyed at this bloody tech, I'm going to have to get onto Substack. And I have not answered it in this chat. And when you try to type in the bottom, it says, somebody said to me last week, it says something about upgrade to paid, which is just so annoying because I want everybody to be able to ask questions. Will you please DM me and A, let me know your question, and B, let me know that was what was happening. So I've got some evidence that I can send to Substack. Thank you so much. I'm going to head off now and eat some lunch. Have the most glorious afternoon. Get outside in the garden if you can. And if you don't know what you're doing, just bloody sit there with a cup of tea and soak up the nature's vibes. Thanks so much. See you later. Bye.